Just before I begin, I just want to check that my sound, can you all hear me okay?
Very good.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So today I want to talk about understanding your audience and speaking their language. So recently I was talking about communication with a different group, and one of the questions I asked was, what is communication to you? And I had different replies, different ideas, and mostly the general consensus was that communication, and again, public speaking and presentations is a form of communication, is mostly about crafting your message and delivering it. But part of the crafting and delivery process of our message, a very important part, is to craft it in a way that is designed based on your audience, on their perspective, based on their language. So understanding your language and taking, trying to fit in their shoes, trying to see their viewpoint makes a massive difference on how we craft our message. So today I want to start by talking about the three, they're called perceptual positions, or three different positions of perspective. So the first one being my perspective, the first perspective. So I'm seeing the world and I'm communicating from my point of view, from my lens. The second perspective being your perspective, the audience. So I'm trying to see the world from the viewpoint of the other side, of either my audience or to whom I'm speaking with, communicating one-on-one with. And the third perspective is a third person view, observing the communication between the two parties. And if you do this, in an objective manner, especially when communication fails, you'd be able to see why and how the communication was failing. Why did I communicate something that did not gel? Why did this conversation end up escalating into an argument? So taking the third perspective viewpoint can be really helpful when you're looking back at certain communication aspects. It's a very, very powerful tool. So I really recommend that you experiment with this when you're talking to, partners, loved ones, people at work. But let's talk a bit about the second perspective. So communicating based on the audience. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to share a personal story. So some of you might know that part of my jobs, one of my jobs is working at a supermarket. I lead a division where we import products. We had a specific vacancy for someone to work with us, and it took some time to fill it in. In fact, we got someone to work as a temporary worker in this particular unit. So there we were. It was a meeting. There was myself as lead of this team. There was the manager of the team, and there was the person from the agency, from the temporary workers. And the temp agency guy had a little bit of a broken English, especially he was speaking Maltese English to this new recruit. I told him, so look, today you will work in the store from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It's a trial. Okay? Okay. I will work in the store? Yes. Perfect. Okay. So the agency guy left, and the new temp is left with the manager. And this was a position that took some time to fill in, so I wanted to check in to see everything's okay. So I pop in, and I said, so how is it going? The manager says, we're getting things sorted, okay? And I go to them, how are you? How is it going? He said, this is not what I signed up for. It's like, what do you mean? And the manager turns, what do you mean this is not what you signed up for? You were there with the agency guy who was telling you that you're going to work in the store. What's the problem? He told him, yes, but this is not what I signed up for. I wanted to be cashier. Like, cashier, what do you mean? He told me, because I'm very good in IT. And back in India, I had my own store. I had my own shop. I used to, do this really well. And if you put me in a position where I work based on my strengths, I perform better. And right then it hit me. I understood exactly where the communication failed. Because India was heavily influenced by the Brits, by the UK, and sometimes you have these conversations with people from Tesco UK. For them, the place where you put products on pallets for storage is not called a store, that's called a warehouse. The place where you put products on the shelves for customers to buy, that's not called that can be called the shop floor, but it's most often called a store. They call it a corner store, superstore, mega store, hyperstore, whatever. So that term store, although we're using the same language, using the same terminology, it had different meaning for different people. And the only way I kind of understood is when I tried to understand what was going on. Why was he saying this? Because in his mind, store is the shop floor. So he thought that he was going to stacking shelves, doing cashier jobs. So understanding how technical language can mean different. Now the word store and warehouse, are they now you guys, most of you are IT people, so you're very tech savvy, store and warehouse. Is it really a technical language? Sort of, yes and no, it's a certain point, But when you put yourself in the other person's position, understand what is their background, what's their culture, what is their history, where are they coming from, what have they been exposed to? If this guy has been exposed to the British style of retailing, and in Malta we have different ways of saying things, I need to put myself in his position. What if I put a presentation together for the management that takes care of the export division of Tesco UK, and I'm putting together a slideshow presentation about increasing efficiencies in store procedures, and in my mind the store is a warehouse, in their mind the store is the shop floor. Can you see where the confusion could be? So that is one of the things I wanted to talk about. The other thing the other sort of technique and aspect is about the amount of information that you provide. So you might have audiences that could be a bit more big picture in their thinking, in their decision making, and for what they would need the presentation for. And there might be people that are more micro detail oriented. And I'm not, by no way or means am I saying that one is better than the other, but different audiences, whether you're presenting to 1, 2, 3 people or to a group of 12, might have different needs. So identifying these needs are going to be super, super important. So let me give you another example. Just almost a year ago, I was doing a bank presentation where we were raising funding for a considerably, sizable project. And our finance team, the financial consultants, were helping me put the deck together. And for raising a considerable amount of money, we only used 10 or 12 slides at that stage. Once we presented at the high level where we needed to go, and they said yes, how we want to work with you, then we got into all the micro detail later at separate meetings via email, sending the management accounts, the procurement process, the key people, their CVs. So understanding the level of detail you need to get into in your communication and how much to expose is another key thing to consider. So one of the things I always keep in mind is that anything you add to your presentation or speech that is not helping you deliver your message in the most efficient manner is a distraction from your message. Let me repeat that. Anything we add in our communication or our presentation that is not facilitating our message, that is not helping us deliver our message, is a distraction from our message. So to wrap things up, today we spoke about perceptual positioning, 1, my perception, 2, the audience perspective, and 3, the third party perspective. Is a very, very powerful tool to take these different positions in different times. 2 is technical language, to understand from their perspective, their history, their background, their culture, what have they been exposed to, and communicating in their language that way. And 3, the level of information, the level of detail. So that's it from me. I'd like to turn to you guys to see if you have any questions